Yet another rainy day on the Dually SMP. Welcome back, everybody. Today, we've got some interesting projects at hand. The first thing I'd like to do is clear out this area. We want to open up this cavern more because I'm eventually going to put the rail station in here. I don't think I'm going to get to that this episode, but I definitely want to expand the villager trading hall, and to do that, we're going to have to move some villagers. Yoink. Time for the not-so-fun part of this job. Ooh, maybe not. Okay, yoink. I totally didn't think about this before. Okay, maybe it's okay, actually. And schmack. Here's your new home, buddy. Enjoy it. Alright, that first one was easy enough. Let's just get... come back. No, where you... Oh, it's gonna escape. Oh, that was a close one. You thought you could escape, couldn't you? We're not having any of that today, so get in the boat. Please? Please? Oh, there we go. Also, it's probably worth mentioning, and you probably noticed, but I did wind up clearing out this big old space here, and the old rails you see here are actually from the old rail system. They will eventually be replaced and retrofitted into the new system when I wind up adding that. Also, I finished expanding the trading hall, so hopefully we can get some more villagers in here today and kind of fill out this place, but I know that can be a pain, so we'll have to see. Also, this boring stone brick interior will eventually be refinished. It's not going to always be like this, so don't worry about it. And first things first, villagers need a lot of bread. Also, did you guys hear that they are replacing the piston sound in the new update? Personally, I don't like the new sound, but I'm hopeful they can find a happy medium and implement something that's quieter than that monstrosity. In the meantime, though, we got plenty of bread to get started. The next thing that we need to do is start blocking off some areas to make sure that the villagers cannot escape once they are free to roam around, and place down some beds so that they can sleep and then hopefully create some babies. Also, the space was pretty cramped, so I decided to open up the roof and just replace it with some slabs. Time to hand out the daily rations. Brother, no. Ah, yes, I forgot that was a slight problem, isn't it? And I need more bread. I should really just build one of these things at spawn. Alright, I think I'm done messing with the trading hall for now. As you can see, we have put in a lot of villagers. I've had to farm up bread so many times, I don't feel like farming anymore. I've also run out of bone meal, which is insane because I had a huge stockpile. I think a lot of these villagers still have bread in their inventories, but we're gonna ignore that for now. So as you can see, I added a lot of villagers. I think we probably... trying to think. I know that this was an original one. It only went to about here before, I want to say. Yeah, it went to only about here. Oh, I can just look below. Yeah, it went to about here, and all of these villagers are new. It's like more than a dozen new villagers, and of course there's still a few that are unjobified. But yeah, we've got basically every enchantment. There's only a few we're missing. We're missing Smite 5, but there is a Smite 4. We are missing Lure and the other fishing enchantment, which I can't think of off the top of my head, because there's just no way I would ever make a villager for those. Although I may do it just because the trading hall is so large now. But yeah, it was such a pain to get this many villagers that I'm starting to realize why people make villager breeders, because this was pretty painful, and it took a long time too. Especially, of course, cycling the enchantments to get whatever I needed. It was a real grind for the last few of them. And Smite 5, I just stopped going for. I gave up on that one because that's too annoying. Smite 4 is good enough. But down here, there are a lot of villagers that are unhoused. I think we're going to try to fill up only to like here, maybe a little bit more. And we're actually going to turn this section into maybe like an auto farming station, like with farmer villagers that are farming wheat and carrots and stuff. We'll just have to fill up their inventory so that they're always dropping stuff, and then have a rail minecart underneath to grab it all or something. I don't know exactly how those farms work, but it's something like that. I think it would be really cool to make that in that section, because I just do not feel like farming up a ton more villagers. It is very despair. Overall, though, pretty happy with how things have worked out. And of course, I do want to farm up the rest of the villagers to fill in these spots. We do still need toolsmiths, and we need farmer villagers, and I'm trying to think if we need any others. These are our armors and our iron trades, so I'm not too concerned about armor. I think that's about it. Even for toolsmiths, you really don't need that many. And then I started randomly farming amethyst crystals without knowing why. I think my brain really just likes shinies, but I really went off on a rail here, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a moment. So I think this is about my 5th or 6th time harvesting this whole geode for the amethyst shards, and I've finally come to the decision, since this is right under spawn, we're going to make a farm out of this. Now, I've got a few ideas in my head, but first of all, I need to figure out exactly how the mechanisms behind these shards work, and I think there's no better way to do that than to literally just jump into things. So, first of all, we're going to place a sticky piston here. And we're going to break this one. Now, this is a stage 1, I believe, the earliest. Yeah, it's a small amethyst bud. So this is the smallest one you can possibly have. And it does drop nothing. That is what I was expecting. I was pretty sure that they would have to be fully grown in order to be collected when broken. So if we just find a full one, which is over there. Unfortunately, I've collected most of the easy ones to get to. Which is another thing we're going to be talking about in just a second here, but let me just break some of this geode, because it's probably not going to be staying this way anyway. Also, you'll notice that I get haste a lot in here, which is a big problem. So obviously, full one breaks, it does drop shards. Now, it's not nearly as efficient as with a pickaxe, because this is like, what, 2? Yeah, this is 2. With a pickaxe, if you have fortune, it can just straight up get like, I don't know, like 32, I feel like, I think. It's like the maximum, or 16. It's like a ridiculous number with fortune. I don't know why they're so fortunable. Oh my, that scared me. But going back to what I was just saying about haste, yeah, it's a real problem. I don't want to move the spawn beacon, but there's a few blocks in here where you will get the haste effect, which really messes you up, because first of all, you're going between haste and not haste, which is really bad, because it's just inconsistent mining speeds. But also, if you have haste, it's way too easy to accidentally break the actual clusters. And every time I come down here to collect some, I always wind up breaking one of the clusters. So yeah, I've definitely decided we are farming this. But I believe there's 4 stages to the amethyst buds. There is the... let's look in here. So we've got the amethyst cluster, got the small amethyst cluster, and there's one in the middle. Which means that we want to collect only the 4th one. So, the only way... actually, hold on, let me test something really quick. Can I place this anywhere? I can. That's interesting. No, I don't believe that this is going to work, right? I haven't looked up farms, but yeah, no. I was going to say, that would make farms way too easy if it could output a signal. I feel like it should output a redstone comparator signal, though, lore-wise, because the calibrated skulk outputs a comparator signal. Nonetheless, that does not output a comparator signal, so we are going to forget about that for now. Let's lay this back out the way that I want it to be laid out. So we need something to detect it growing up, and we need to detect it at the 4th stage specifically. The only way I can think to do that is going to be an observer, and so we're going to have to observe each cluster, and then we're going to have to set a piston off on the 4th time only. Now, I'm pretty sure I cannot move these blocks, and I'm also not willing to trial and error that. Pretty sure if I try to move this block with a sticky piston, it will just break and not drop the block. So I'm not even going to attempt that. I believe I would have seen farms moving them around with sticky pistons if that had been the case. Although that would be pretty interesting, but I know Mojang says no, no, no to that. Because people would probably just sticky piston them all the way to their base or something ridiculous. So yeah, well, yeah, you could make a flying machine then and bring it. Yeah, okay, I see why they're probably not movable. I've come to that conclusion in my head. So yeah, I need to find a design that needs 4 observer ticks to set off a piston. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is just set up a fake amethyst, or budding amethyst rather. The reason why I'm setting up a fake one is because I do not want to risk breaking any more than I have to. This is the only amethyst cluster we found this close to spawn, so I do not want to break any more if I don't have to. Would like to be very careful. I believe I can place this even, yeah, even if I'm in the hitbox, which is very nice. Oops. Okay, so basically I need to observe 4 changes, right? So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a piston comes down and breaks it, or comes up and breaks it. But yeah, it would be something like that, in my opinion. And obviously it can't be that simple. So now we need a way to actually detect 4 signals and then only mine, or only set the piston off on the 4th. Okay, I just had a bit of a thought here. I have a feeling that this is the wrong way of thinking because I feel like I would have heard about this kind of a design if this was the right way of thinking. But yeah, we've got 2 dispensers here. Oh, okay, it's got to be droppers. It has to be droppers. I was not aware of that. Do have plenty of those though. But yeah, the idea still stands. You get 2 droppers facing into each other, and you have different stacks of items. And basically, what you do then is every time you see it grow, it will send 1 item. Wait, what? Please? Okay, maybe not, but the idea still stands. It would send 1 item into here, and once it has done that, the comparator is then able to read a signal. Once the comparator is able to read a signal, you would want a signal strength of 4, and then once you could do that, you set off the piston. Eventually, I gave up on that original design and tried out some other designs. Nothing was really working, but then I had a brain blast and I thought it would be a good idea to actually go back to the original design and check it again, and you are about to see the results of that. And we're actually back to the first design, which I said was impossible, but upon further review, it was actually possible, and this is actually a functional design. So let me give you a demo before I explain what's going on. Let me just make sure, okay, it's set up correctly. So this trapdoor represents our 4 growth stages. Once I flip it 4 times, it should harvest, and this is a sticky piston just for testing purposes because I hated having to reset this every time, but this will be a normal piston in the future. Also, I just put this piston here just for lols. But yeah, we'll test this out. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We get the extension. It would break the crystal and then it retracts. It is completely reset and you can do it again. So if the crystal grows again from this stage, 1, 2, 3, 4, and perfect. Now, how exactly does this work? So this works on the system that I was basically explaining in the beginning, where I'm taking the droppers, and what I'm doing is every time the observer observes 1 growth stage, it throws 1 item from this top hopper into this top dropper into this bottom dropper. Now, what that does is it increases the signal output that can be read from this dropper. Now, I was looking carefully at the list of items and storage containers and how they are read, because they're all compared differently when you're talking about a comparator. And I found that 4 non-stackable items, such as shears, count as 1 stack each. So if you look at the wiki will tell you that a signal strength of 7 will come out of a dropper specifically if you have 4 non-stackable items, which are not 4 stacks. It's actually, I believe it's 3 stacks and 55. But for our purposes, it's a little bit fine to go just slightly over. So what's happening is the comparator here will not read any signal strength that is 7 or lower, or 6 or lower rather, I believe, because I have a lectern here, turn to page 7, which I believe is reading a signal strength of 6. So this, the comparator reads the lectern, it sees that it is set to page 7, which is a signal strength of 6, I believe. I don't think I can check in the F3, no, I can't. And then it's going into this, which is the compare, I believe. And basically, when you have a signal strength going into the side of a comparator in regular comparator mode, it will never, this comparator here will never activate unless it has a higher signal strength than what's coming into it. So this has a signal strength of 6. That would mean that a higher signal strength would need to be activating this, which would be 7, which, of course, we just mentioned. If you have 4 non-stackable items, that is a signal strength of 7 in a dropper specifically. So that is exactly what's happening. Every time this activates once, you can see a shear gets sent down into the next dropper. And then once all 4 have gone, it will power the comparator, which powers this redstone lamp. It then breaks the amethyst crystal, and you can see over here we've got a observer observing the redstone lamp, which turns on and off. So what happens then is this will be powered and or it will be powered twice actually. And what happens is this observer next reads those 2 power signals, powering this block, which then, this is the second dropper, the one where everything's going into, right? So top one goes into the bottom, goes into the bottom. So when there are items in this one, I guess it doesn't matter if there's items in there or not, but when this redstone lamp is going off, it basically has this observer chain to power this block, which then sends 2 of these shears back up. So that's a simple way to send 2 of the shears back up. Unfortunately, the only way I could figure out to send 2 more shears back was to make a hopper chain like so, and power this block again. So you'll see, if we just flick this a few more times, that the signal goes around, and it does so twice, meaning that I am sending 4 items back. 2 items get sent back through this, I keep trying to say hopper chain, but observer chain, and 2 items get sent back through this observer chain. And it does go right under this lectern. So, what have I learned from this design? This design is a 4 blocks deep by 3 blocks wide design, meaning that it is pretty large, larger than I would have hoped I could make, but I can't find a way to compact this. If someone would like to try, I would appreciate it. I was fooling around with different ideas of having like a singular block here that outputs a very specific redstone signal into that so that I could mow it down into a 4x2 and then like somehow compacting this observer chain, but I couldn't figure out how to do either of those, so I'll leave it up to the community if anybody sees this who's a wizard at redstone. I'm a complete noob. I've actually learned a lot just doing this. But yeah, I actually learned a lot here, and most importantly, this design can be either upward facing or downward facing. So you'll see over here, it is almost the exact same design. You do have to change a few things, like for example, in this one, well, of course it has to be inverted, right? So this one, not the hopper, I keep trying to say hoppers for some reason, the dropper that is being interacted with by the observer is kind of getting quasi-connectivity powered, so there doesn't actually have to be a block. Oops, how do I misplacing that? Doesn't actually have to be a block there, which is good for space reasons, especially when you're dealing with amethyst crystals. The only other difference between these two is that this one, the downwards one, or I guess maybe upwards if you're basing it on the piston orientation, has to have a redstone lamp here. For some reason, I don't completely understand why, but it does not work if you do not have a redstone lamp here. It does not completely clean out the items out of this one. I'll show you. If we just put an observer in that spot instead, and then we flip this 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll see the items. You are left with 1 item. So yeah. I do not know exactly why. It probably has something to do with exactly when the pulses come through. And I believe I even tried a normal block, and that does not work either. Tried it here. Yeah, normal block definitely does not work. But no, you need a lamp. Nope, stop it. Okay, there we go. And once you have that, you can then just be reliant on it always working, which is very nice. Now, I've also thrown these pistons in here, and the reason that I threw these pistons in here is because with this design, there's not going to be a way that you can detect the top and the bottom ones. Or I guess maybe you could, but my idea here is that these are actually, they're not completely tileable, but they are tileable enough that when you get one amethyst crystal, you can actually surround it. So what I was planning on doing was basically just surrounding one crystal, and then what I would do is come down on the top with these, which I know is not completely efficient because this piston wouldn't even be detecting at all this amethyst crystal here, but it would be better than nothing because there is the off chance that it has actually grown before the other one has, or any of the other ones have. But yeah, overall that is the design. I will make a tutorial for this at some time in the future because I have not seen anything online that even comes close to this. I don't like any of the other designs for 100% automatic. And I bet you guys are wondering, what am I going to do about item collection? I have not talked yet about that, and with a system like this, it would be very messy to try to involve hoppers. And that's right, we're not going to be using hoppers or water streams or anything of that sort. We're actually going to be using allays. So I thought of this initially when I wanted to design this farm, and that's why I've been going with a design such as this. And I thought it would be pretty interesting to incorporate allays, so hopefully we can do that. I have seen that allays are somewhat finicky, but I'm hopeful that it can work pretty well. But yeah, as you can see, I've cleaned up the area a little bit as I've been farming these crystals while I've been designing the farm. But this has taken a lot of time, and it's going to be a lot more work to get this farm into shape, including clearing out this water and just cleaning up the geode and opening up all the space for this farm that's 4 blocks wide or 4 blocks deep and 3 blocks wide, etc., etc. Anyway, I just want to thank you all so much for watching. That is going to do it for this episode. Hopefully in the next episode we can get this farm up and running and then eventually decorate it. But I definitely want it up and running as soon as possible so that it can start farming up some crystals. And I probably should have done this before designing the farm, but hopefully we'll do some math on exactly how efficient this farm will be and get the allays for the collection system and everything else that I need to do. But until then, have a great day, guys. I will see you guys next time. And goodbye.